Hello, people. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and this is the final Star Wars movie in the original trilogy, and it's my favorite movie of all time. I've seen this movie so much as a kid. I love it as an adult, and it just continues to get better with each viewing. And that is Return of the Jedi, Episode 6 of the Star Wars trilogy. This movie, I saw it a long time ago, on VHS, back in the VHS era in the 80s and the early 90s. I loved it then. I still love it now. I got to see it in widescreen on Blu-ray. There's some things in the Blu-ray I didn't agree with. Like the changing, Vader going no at the end of Jedi. That was stupid. And the Ewoks blink in the film as well in the Blu-ray, which it's alright. It doesn't distract me from the rest of the film. But anyway, this film, I love this film to death. I've seen it so many times. I just watch it every year at least once. Well, you know the synopsis of this. Basically, Luke has been gone training as a Jedi. He creates his own lightsaber that's green. The film starts off in space, just like in the first film, and you get to see a lot of new things. You get to see a new Death Star, the Death Star 2, that's like broken on the bottom, and the Imperial officers are talking that Lord Vader's shuttle has arrived. It's the shuttle Tidarium. He gets off, the smoke clears, and then you see Darth Vader walking with that awesome music from score from John Williams. Dun, 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 dun. The director of this, Richard Marquand, he died like shortly after he did the film, so rest in peace, Richard Marquand. That's two directors of a Star Wars movie that's died already in the last 20 or 30 years. But he did a great job. I think he was the perfect guy to end this trilogy. A lot of people call this the black sheep of the franchise. I don't know why, because oh, it's got Ewoks. They ruined the movie. No, I love the Ewoks. I'll get to that later. Anyway, Vader has a talk with one of the Imperial leaders, and he says the Emperor is arriving, and he won't be pleased with your apparent lack of progress with the Death Star. He said, I hope so. You finish the Death Star before he comes, because the Emperor is not as forgiving as I am. Vader leaves, and then once again you see C-3PO and R2-D2. They're in Tatooine, just like in the first film. They're headed to Jabba's palace. 3PO knocks on the door, and he's like, "No, there doesn't seem to be anybody here. Let's go back and tell Master Luke." And then an eye comes out and speaks some weird language. They talk a little bit. Then the gate open. The eye goes back in, retracts. 3PO's like, "Oh, they're not gonna let us in. Let's get out of here, R2." And then the gate opens slowly, and then R2 goes in past C-3PO. There's this giant spider thing that goes by, and 3PO gets scared. That's when you get to see the pigs. I think they're called whatchamacallit, the Gamorreans or something like that. Yeah, they're these huge pigs with tusks, and they're green, and they're ugly, and they're fat. And then you see Bib Fortuna, the guy with the alien with the thing around his neck, and he has these creepy eyes, and he talks to 3PO, and he says, "Yeah, we have a message for your master, Jabba the Hutt." They let him in, the bigger, bigger, bigger. Then you finally see Jabba the Hutt in all of his puppet glory. It's not the CG Jabba from the prequels. It's the puppet Jabba the Hutt, and it looks great. The puppeteering in this movie, there's a lot of puppets, and they look fantastic. Even 30 plus years later, it still looks really good. You don't see some of the main characters until like 20 or 30 minutes into the film, because you don't see Leia until later, or Han, or Luke. Anyway, Jabba talks to the droids, and they show him the message with Luke saying, I'm Luke Skywalker, Jedi Knight and friend of Captain Solo. I plead for you to bargain for Solo's life. And Jabba laughs. Ho, 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 ho. I got a Jabba the Hutt thing. I'll use them for the review. I'm going to show most of my toys that I have from this movie, because it's my favorite movie of all time. Jabba says there won't be a bargain. Solo's he's my trophy. I'm gonna mount him on my wall as long as I want. And I'm basically translating, because he talks in Jabba-ese or whatever. And then C-3PO and R2-D2, they become workers for Jabba in his palace and on his ship. on his sail barge. Um, 3PO goes down to the prison, uh, and there's a lot of creatures there. There's a hand that tries to reach out for him. He gets scared, and there's a thing that goes around his neck. Also, there's a robot that talks to him. You know, he says, "How many languages do you speak?" It's Richard Marquand's voice for the robot, and he says, "We needed another protocol droid since we disintegrated the last one." And 3PO sees the robot. It has like a missing leg, and he's like sparking. Yeah, it's crazy. This is a really crazy Star Wars movie, but I love it. It's just so odd and so over the top and so fun. Anyway, the droid says, you put him with a restraining bolt and take him back to His Excellency's main audience chamber. R2 and 3PO get separated again, just like in the first film. There's a lot of nods to the first film, to A New Hope, but it's good nods. It's not like beating over your head. At least Luke's lightsaber is green and not blue, like in the first one. Anyway, R2 goes to the sail barge, and then you see that awesome scene. Either version you see, if you see the theatrical cut, you have the puppet-sized noodles with her lip going in one direction. In the special edition, there's a big musical number with the CG sized noodles, and ant that is, it's all CG, but and then these girl dancers. There's a Greedoette and this alien girl with big fish ears, and then there's some Asian chick which is pretty hot. And then you get either version you see. It's still pretty cool for me anyway. Doesn't ruin the film. After that, after the dance number, you see a Max Rebo, the blue elephant-like creature. The creatures look really good in this movie. I mean, the creature effects are some of the best I've seen since the movie came out a year after John Carpenter's The Thing, so they learned from that, using puppets and practical effects. No CG when back in the 80s. Anyway, Jabba takes one of the slave girls. He hits a button. She falls to the pit where the not the Sarlacc pit. That's later. The Rancor monster, which is this huge creature with big claws. You see it later in the film. Jabba eats a frog. You see a bounty hunter come in with Chewbacca. She wants to bargain with him to see how much he would get for Chewbacca, and Jabba was willing to pay 25,000, and the bounty hunter's like, no, I want 50,000, no less. And then he hits 3PO, who knocks him out. And then he tries to bargain for 35,000, and they said, I do suggest you take it. The bounty hunter agrees. She has a detonator and is gonna blow up the whole palace, but then the bounty hunter shuts it off. There will be spoilers in this review, so remember that. Anyway, the bounty hunter takes Chewbacca away to the prison. You see Celestius Crumb, that little side character that's next to Jabba, that he laughs. He's like, ah, ha, 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 ha. He laughs for everything. Then you see Lando, in disguise. I have a toy with him, with that mask made of bones. You see outside of the city, there's this big frog creature. It eats a little rat thing on the floor. And then you see Luke with a robe. He comes in like a pimp, really slowly. He uses the force on the pig guards. They fall to the ground, and then of course you see. Well, that's later on. I forgot to mention that the bounty hunter goes into the chamber and releases Han from the carbonite. Han gets out, falls. She says, "Relax, you're free from the carbonite. You have hibernation sickness." He can't see. He's blind. He can't see anything. It's temporary blindness. And he's like, "Where am I?" And she's like, "Jabba's palace." And he's like, "Who are you?" Takes the helmet off, and it's Princess Leia. And it's an awesome scene. And she's like, "Someone who loves you." They kiss. She tries to get him out. Of course, Jabba wakes up. They couldn't do it in secret because it would be too easy if they would just get out in the first 15 minutes of the movie. Han could barely see. He's like, "Jabba, I was just on my way to pay you back, and I got a little sidetracked. It's not my fault." And Jabba's like, "You may have been a good smuggler, but now you're bantha fodder." They take him away into the prison where Chewbacca is. He takes Leia, and he goes, which is it's weird. I would never want a puppet tongue near my face. It's just creepy. And then after that, Han and Chewie reunite. They talk. Chewie pets his hair, and he's like, "All right, pal, I'm all right." And then Luke comes in, and then of course, you see Princess Leia in the slave outfit right here, like this, absolutely gorgeous. Just wow, Carrie Fisher really let herself loose. She still looks good to this day. You know, it's not like in the '80s, but she's still for her age, she's still slamming. Anyway, you have the scene with the slave Leia. Luke comes in. He tries to talk to Bib Fortuna. He says, "You will take me to Jabba now," and then he says, you serve your master well." And then Luke talks to Jabba, saying that I must be allowed to speak. And then he wants to bargain once again. You will bring Captain Solon the Wookiee to me. And then Jabba's like, ho 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 ho. He sees Leia, and then it's a trap. Three feels like Luke, Master Luke, you're standing on, and then Jabba's like, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna enjoy watching you die. He hits the button. Luke falls into the pit. One of the Gamorrean guards falls in as well. The Rancor shows up, and Luke is terrified because he's never seen a creature this big. And the Rancor, it grabs the pig, and it bites him. It's pretty violent for the early '80s. I mean, he bites it, and then he eats him whole. It's so crazy. And anyway, after that, you see Luke tries to battle with it. He puts a bone in his mouth, and to try to block him from eating it. And he breaks the bone, just chomp, and then he grabs Luke, and he's about to eat Luke, but Luke escapes. Then Luke, when he falls, he hits the Rancor's hand with a rock. He gets out. He tries to go through the gate. It's locked. The Rancor's approaching. He's like, he's thinking, he tries to improvise. He sees a skull. He throws it to the freaking button. It hits. Gate comes down, and bam! It hits the Rancor right in the head, and it crushes him. And then Luke's relieved, and then of course Leia's relieved, but then the chain is around her neck, and Jabba's pulling it like this. Oh, he's like pulling her, and of course, the keeper of the Rancor, the Rancor's owner, goes and he cries. It's hilarious. I think that's a funny moment in the film. It needed humor, especially since it's the third film and it's definitely dark in the second half. Then Han and Luke reunite. You see them talking, and they said, "Where's Leia? I'm here." And Jabba wants to see them all die because they killed the Rancor, so they get sent to the Dune Sea, and that's where the Sarlacc pit is. You get to see it, and then they get taken away. Luke is like, "Yeah, this is the last mistake you ever make." Jabba laughs. Then you get to the sail barge where R2's giving out drinks. Then later you see Lando. Um, R2's giving out drinks, and then C-3PO bumps into him. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I know you're serving drinks, but this place is dangerous. They're gonna execute Master Luke, and if we're not careful, us too." And he's like, "Oh, I wish I had your confidence." And you see the sail barge is right above where the Sarlacc pit is. There's this plank, and the Sarlacc pit, whichever version you see, the original is just a mouth. It doesn't even move much. I like the beak that they added in the special edition because it made it more alive, and the beak looked like RG2 from Little Shop of Horrors. There's a plan though. Luke looks at Lando. He gives him a nod. He does this to R2. Jabba thinks Luke is gonna die. He said, "Cast him in." The guard tries to poke Luke in. Luke goes like this, and he bumps out, and then you hear the awesome Star Wars music. Dun, 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 dun. Luke finally gets his green lightsaber. He starts to use it. He starts swinging it like crazy, and then Leia tries to get herself free. Luke is just hammering people left and right, knocking them into the Sarlacc pit. Han and Chewie try to get free. Lando gets knocked off a sail barge because all hell breaks loose. The Sarlacc pit has these like tentacles that grabs people and takes them in. Of course, you get the infamous scene that people forgot about Boba Fett. That he starts to fly. He traps Luke around in one of his cables, and then Luke tries to get free. Han tries to help with before he tries to help Lando. Who's falling into the Sarlacc pit. He says Boba Fett. Where? He knocks him out of nowhere. by accident, and then Boba Fett hits the sail barge, falls into the sand, and then he gets eaten. And the Sarlacc pit burps, and I'm like, wow, that's an untimely death for a cool character. But anyway, um, Leia causes a blackout. She shuts all the lights off in the palace. She takes her chain and she wraps it around Jabba like this, and she's like choking him to death. I'm trying to get it around, yeah. Choking him, choking him, choking him, choking him, and then he dies. And it's awesome. She kills the giant puppet. R2 frees her from the chains. Luke is trying to, Han is trying to help Lando. One of the tentacles grabs around Lando's leg, and Han takes a gun and blasts the freaking tentacle, and then he helps Lando get up. Celestia's Crumb in the sail barge is messing with 3PO's eye. Luke goes back under the sail barge and just whacking everybody inside. He's a badass in this movie. He's not the farm boy from the first one in this movie. He's a full trained Jedi Knight, and he's just hammering away left and right. Someone shoots him in his fake hand, from the mechanical hand that he got in Empire Strikes Back. I forgot to mention. He just keeps swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and then they destroy the sail barge. Luke swings with Leia in the slave outfit off to one of the ships, and they said, "Let's go, and don't forget the droids. We're on our way." The sail barge and the Jabba's palace completely blows up in this awesome practical explosion, and they fly off into the sunset. They go into space. Luke heads back to Dagobah to see Yoda. The Millennium Falcon goes the other way to the Rebel base, and Luke goes to see Yoda. After that, you get to see Darth Vader. He meets up with the Emperor. The Emperor shows up. He's like, "Arise, my friend." They have a little talk, and Vader's like, the Death Star will be complete on schedule, and the Emperor's like, "You've done well, Lord Vader, and now I sense you must continue your search for young Skywalker." It's the same actor from the prequels. Ian McDiarmid is the Emperor. He's always good in the film, just a really creepy voice, and he's like, "Patience, my friend. In time, we only together can we turn him to the dark side, because he's grown strong, and he needs to be on our side." And Vader's like, "As you wish." The Emperor laughs. Scene is over. Luke is back in Dagobah. He meets up with Yoda, who's dying, and they have a little talk. Yoda says that I'm sick and I have to forever sleep. Earned it I have, and Luke's like, "Master Yoda, you can't die." And Yoda's like, "Strong am I with the Force, but not that strong." He goes into his bed. He talks to Luke. He says, Luke is like, "Is Darth Vader my father?" Yoda says, "Your father it is." And told you, did he? And Luke is like, "Yes." And it's like, "Unexpected and unfortunate." And Luke is like, "Unfortunate that I know the truth? No, unfortunate that you rush to face him, that you complete your training." And then all that, and it's like, he says the same thing from Empire. Jedi strength flows from the Force. He's like, "Luke, there is another Skywalker." And Luke is like, "What?" He's like, confused. And then Yoda dies, his body disappears. Luke plans to leave Dagobah, but then Obi-Wan shows up, and he's like, "Yoda will always be with you." And Luke sees Obi-Wan, he calls him Obi-Wan, and then he's a ghost again, just like in the Empire Strikes Back. And Luke is like, "Why didn't you tell me? You told me Vader betrayed and murdered my father." And Obi-Wan's like, "Your father was seduced by the dark side of the Force. He ceased to be Anakin Skywalker and became Darth Vader. When that happened, the good man who was your father was destroyed." So in a metaphorical way, he said his father was dead. And then Luke was like, "A certain point of view." And Obi-Wan's like, "Yeah, Luke, the things that we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view. Anakin was a good friend. When I first knew him, your father was already a great pilot, but I was amazed how strongly the Force was with him. I took it upon myself to train him as a Jedi. I thought I could train him just as well as Yoda, and I was wrong." And Luke is like, "There's still good in him." And Obi-Wan's like, "He's more machine now than man, twisted and evil." And he's like, "I can't do it, Ben." And it's like, "You can't escape your destiny. You must face Darth Vader again." And Luke is like, I can't kill my own father. And Obi-Wan's like, then the Emperor's already won. You are our only hope. And Luke is like, Yoda spoke of another. And then he said, the other you spoke of was your twin sister. And he's like, but I don't have a sister. And Obi-Wan says, to protect you both from the Emperor, you were hidden from your father when you were born. And the Emperor knew as I did, if Anakin were to have any offspring, there would be a threat to him. So that's why your sister's been remained anonymous. And he figured out, oh yeah, Leia, that's my sister. And he's like, Obi-Wan's like, your insight served you well. Bear your feelings deep down, Luke. They do you credit, but they could be used to serve the Emperor. Then you see the rebels. They're talking about, Han and Lando talk with each other. You know, they wanted. He said, I didn't know that they were going to have, someone to lead this crazy attack. And he's like, you're the respectful one. They have a smile. You see Mon Mothma. She talks about, that the Emperor made a critical error in the design of their new battle station, and we know that the things are not operational yet. So we have a chance to get into the Death Star to destroy it before it becomes operational. You see Admiral Akbar, who's a classic character, is like, although the weapon systems on the Death Star are not operational, it has a small weakness. It's protected by an energy shield, which is on Endor, the planet where the Ewoks live. So they have to destroy it. Once the shield is down, they have to go into the superstructure and knock out the main reactor, so it could the Death Star can blow up. He says General Calrissian, Lando is the leader of the fighter attack, and Han's like, good luck, you're gonna need it. And then they have this other general said we've stolen one of the Imperial ships, and we'll have a strike team to land on the moon and deactivate the shield generator. And of course, General Han Solo says, "Oh, my team is ready. I don't have a command ship for the shuttle or whatever." And of course Chewbacca volunteers and Leia volunteers, and then Luke shows up. Leia gives him a warm embrace, and she's like, "What is it?" And Luke is like, "Ask me again sometime." And it's like, "Hi Han, Chewie," and then C-3PO's like, "Exciting is hardly the word I would choose." And then they head to Endor. Han and Lando have a small talk. He says, "Take care of my Millennium Falcon. I don't want her to get a scratch on it." And he's like, "Get out of here, you pirate." And it's like, "Good luck, you two." They leave. They get into the shuttle. They get ready to leave. They head to Endor. Vader's suspicious, and he can feel that there's something wrong. Um, Han is like, fly casual. The Empire is like, "Shuttle Tiberium, what is your cargo and destination?" And it's like, "Parts and technical crew to the forest moon of Endor." And they said the activation of the deflector shields. Um, Han is, said the plan will work. Luke is like, "Vader's on the ship," and Han's like, "Don't get jittery, Luke. There's a lot of command ships. Keep your distance, but don't look like you're trying to keep your distance." And Luke is like, "I'm endangering the mission. I shouldn't have come." And he's like, "It's your imagination, kid." They wait a while. They give him clearance. They go to Endor. Han's like, "I told you it was going to work." "No problem." And Luke is still not convinced. Vader's like, "No, leave them to me. I'll deal with them myself." Then they get to Endor. It's a big forest. There's some stormtroopers there. They're trying to outsmart to get on the speeder bikes to get to the where the shield generator is. Of course, they get caught. Han makes noise, and then the stormtrooper knocks him out. And then they get on the speeder bikes. They try to escape, and they shoot one of them. And then there's two more of them. Of course, you got that awesome scene in the forest where Luke and Leia are in the speeder bike, and they try to get on, and they go through the forest. It's a long sequence. It's pretty cool. Luke jumps on one of the other speeder bikes and knocks him out. It knocks him right into a freaking tree. It's crazy. And then after that, they chase the other two speeder bike stormtroopers. He's like, "Take that one. I'll take these two." Luke goes backwards and he goes pew, 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 and he blows one up. The other one is after Leia. He takes out a blaster, shoots her. He shoots her speeder bike. She falls off. She falls to the ground. And then this idiot doesn't look forward. He's like, "Ah!" Bam! And he smashes into the freaking tree. and then Luke takes on the other guys trying to smash into him. It's crazy. Some people would think it's cartoonish, but it's a really cool sequence. No CG, just really good practical effects. The guy tries to knock Luke over. Luke is stuck, and then he sees a tree. He jumps off of the speeder bike. The speeder bike guy is trying to shoot him. Takes his lightsaber out. Bam, bam. Cuts off his freaking engine. He goes in a circle, crashes into the tree, and that's the end of the scene. And then Luke, shuts his lightsaber off and walks off. He meets up with Han again. Han is like, "Wait a minute, where's Leia?" And Luke's like, "Wait, she didn't come back?" And Han's like, "I thought she was with you." And he's like, "We got separated. We got to go look for her." And they said, "We'll meet at the shield generator 0900 or whatever." And then C-3PO says he said it was pretty here. And then you see the first glimpse of an Ewok. You have Wicket, who's played by Warwick Davis, a little person that plays him in the other Ewoks movies. He's poking Leia with a freaking spear, and she wakes up, and he's like, "Cut it out." And then you see the Wicket, and then she talks to him. They sit down on a tree trunk. She's eating, I think it's a cookie or something, a rice cake. She bites it. She gives it to him. He starts eating it, and then she sees her helmet, and he gets scared. I have the other Leia right here, the one from Endor. Here she is. She's like, "It's a hat. It's not gonna hurt you. Look, it has a little sticker here." And it's like, "You're a jittery little thing, aren't you?" And then Wicket smells something. He knows that there's someone approaching, and they hide. And then he tries to hide. The stormtrooper finds Leia, and he's like, "Come on, get up. Take her back to base." "Yes, sir." Then Wicket knocks the freaking stormtrooper on his leg. He's like, "Wah!" And it's like, "What the?" And then she knocks him out with a tree trunk, and then the other guy, she shoots him with a little blaster, with this little blaster here, and Wicket's like, "Yitcha!" And then she carries him, and he goes, "Yup, yup, yup, nub, nub," go this way, and then Leia finds him, and of course, that's where Leia later on, they find Leia's helmet. Han's like, "I hope she's all right." And then Chewbacca goes, "Rrr!" And it's like, "What, Chewie?" And then he sees this dead animal. It's a trap laid by the Ewoks. He grabs it, and they all get into a net. And Han says one of the funniest lines in the movie. He's like, "Great, Chewie, great. Always thinking with your stomach." And then, R2 has a plan of getting out. He uses his little saw, and he cuts the net, because it's made of rope. And C-3PO's like, "R2, I don't think that's a good idea. These are very long." Whoa! And they fall. And then they see the Ewoks. There's so many of them, different colors, and they're all cute. They look like teddy bears. And one of them pokes a spear right in Han's face. And Han's like, "Point that thing someplace else." And it's like, "Hey, I'm gonna shoot you." And then Han looks like, "Don't. It'll be all right." And then, of course, when C-3PO gets up, he's like, "Oh, my head," and he's all golden, and they're like, "Oh my God, look at that!" And then they start bowing to him like he's a god. It's hilarious. And then, Luke is like, "Do you understand what they're saying?" It's like, "Oh yes, Master Luke. Remember, I'm fluent in over 6 million forms of communication." And Han's like, "What are you saying to them?" And he's like, "Hello, I think." But they do think I'm some sort of god. And then Han's like, "Well, why don't you use your divine influence and get us out of this?" And 3PO's like, "No, that wouldn't be proper. It's against my programming to impersonate a deity." And then he tries to knock C-3PO out, and the Ewoks get excited, and then they take him to their village where they're having a feast. They hang Luke and Han on these ropes, and just so they can cook them. But Leia comes out with her nice long straight hair, and she's like, "But these are my friends. 3PO, tell them they must be set free." And he talks to the Ewoks. They said no. And then Luke is like, "Tell them if you don't do as you wish, you'll become angry and use your magic." And it's like, "Just tell them." And then C-3PO's like, "Boom!" He says, "Blah, blah, blah, blah." And then he says, "Boom." And then they get scared. They didn't believe him. They start lighting the torches so that they could cook Han and Luke and C-3PO and R2-D2. and then Luke uses the Force to make 3PO levitate on the chair, and everybody gets scared. They're running around as the baby Ewok goes ah, and it covers his face. It's so cute. It's just they're little teddy bears. They're like the Care Bears of the early '80s. Anyway, Luke spins them around. He puts them down, and they believe him. They start cutting them free, and they cut R2. R2 falls. And then R2 blasts one of them. I think it's Chief Chirpa. He blasts him with his electricity. Han and Leia kiss each other, nice and passionately. She hugs Luke, and Luke is like, "Thanks, 3PO." And it's like, I never knew I had it in me. Then the next scene is 3PO's talking, saying all the stories they had from the first two films, and he does all these sound effects. It's so cool. They're talking around the campfire, and then they say, "Oh, we're now a part of the tribe." The Ewoks start hugging and everybody, and getting affectionate. It's a cute scene. Then you have Luke goes out into the tree. He leaves the campfire, and then he's like trying to think. And Leia comes out and she says, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "Do you remember your mother, your real mother?" And he's like, "Just a little bit. She died when I was very young." He's like, "What do you remember? Just images, really, feelings." And it's a subtle scene. There's not, it's just two people talking. And Luke is like, "I don't remember my mother. I never knew her." And it's just like, "Luke, tell me what's troubling you." And he's like, "Vader's here now on this moon." And he's like, "How do you know? I felt his presence, and he could feel why I'm here. That's why I gotta go, because as long as I'm here, I'm endangering you and the mission, and I have to face him because why? He's my father." And she's like, "What? He's your father?" And then he's like, "There's more. It won't be easy for you to hear, but you must. If I don't make it back, you're the only hope for the Alliance." And she's like, "Luke, don't talk that way. You have a power I don't understand and I could never have." And he's like, "You're wrong, Leia. You have that power too. In time, you'll learn to use it as I have. The Force is strong in my family. My father has it, I have it, and my sister has it. Yeah, Leia, you're my sister." And she's like, "I know. Somehow I've always known." So she knew when she kissed him in the second film? Kind of weird, but hey, I'll let it go. Anyway, they keep talking. He has to leave. Leia's getting all emotional. She's like, "No, Luke, run away. If you can feel your presence and leave this place, I wish I could go with you." It's like, "No, you don't. You've always been strong." It's like, "Why? Why do you have to confront him?" It's like, "Because there's good in him. I felt it. I can turn him. I can save him, and I turn him back to the good side. I gotta try." He kisses Leia on the cheek. He leaves. Han comes out, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" And she's like, "Nothing. I just want to be alone for a little while." I was like, "Nothing? Tell me what's going on." And she's like, "I can't tell you." And then he's like, "Can you tell Luke? Is that who you could tell?" And it's a fun scene. I just love that scene. This cast works so well together. I'm glad that they're going to come back for episode 7. I hope the chemistry is still there, even with the Lucas not being involved. Anyway, they hug. She's like, "Hold me." Luke heads to where Vader is. He surrenders, and then they have a word with each other. Um, Vader's like, "The Emperor's been expecting you," and Luke is like, "I know, Father." And it's like, "Oh, so you've accepted the truth. I've accepted the truth that you were once Anakin Skywalker, my father." And and Vader's like, "That name no longer has any meaning for me." And it's like, "It's the name of your true self that you've only forgotten. I know there's good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven from you fully. That's why you couldn't destroy me, in the last film." He takes his lightsaber out, the green one, and he waves it at Luke, trying to taunt him. And he's like, "You've constructed a new lightsaber. Your skills are complete." Shuts it off, and he's like, "Indeed, you are powerful, as the Emperor's foreseen." It's just a really good story. I know that's why I love this movie so much. And it's like, "Obi-Wan, what thought as you did? You don't know the power of the dark side. I must obey my master." And it's like, "I will not turn, and you'll be forced to kill me." And it's like, "If that's your destiny, so be it." And he's like, "Search your feelings, Father. You can't go through this. I can feel the conflict within you, let go of your hate." And he's like, "It's too late for me, son. The Emperor will show you the true nature of the Force. He's your master now." And then Luke is like, "Then my father's truly dead." Then Vader tries to think. He's breathing. And then it cuts to that scene. You get to back in Endor where Han and them are getting to the shield generator. They try to find a diversion to distract the stormtroopers. Uh, One of the Ewoks gets on the speeder bike and he he flies off. He goes woo, and then they chase him out, and then they go to the shield generator to try to blow it up. Um, they blast all the Imperial guards. They get them as prisoners. Then you see Lando. He's up in space with the rest of the rebels. They jump into hyperspace. Um, then you see the scene where Luke he meets with the Emperor. You have the two guards there. They leave. The Emperor talks to him, tries to convince him that you're wrong you're mistaken about a great many things. He takes his lightsaber and he's like, your father can never be turned from the dark side, so will it be with you? And Luke is like, you're wrong. Soon I'll be dead, and you with me. And the Emperor's so crafty. He laughs. He's like, perhaps you're referring to the imminent attack on your rebel fleet. I assure you, we are quite safe from your friends here. He's just so crafty. He's such a great villain. And Luke is like, your overconfidence is your weakness. It's like your faith in your friends is yours. And then, everything is according to my design. Is like, your friends now they're on the sanctuary moon are walking into a trap. And then, this it's just craziness. He keeps talking, and he's like taunting him. He smiles, and then there's a lot of stormtroopers in Endor, so the Han and them can't do it alone. Of course, 3PO distracts them. They're these giant ATSTs. I used to have a toy of that with the Imperial guard inside of the ATST. Has two legs, unlike the AT-AT, which had four legs. They walk into the forest, try to blast some Ewoks. The Ewoks, of course, show up, and if it wasn't for the Ewoks, the rebels would have never gotten the shield down. They beat up, everything goes crazy. Han is shooting people, Leia's shooting people. Everything is going all haywire. They reach the gate where they can open the door, to get to the shield generator to blow it up. Leia gets shot on the arm, burns. Then the space battle ensues. They're fighting the Star Destroyers before the Death Star's not ready to they're not ready to fly in. Then you know you know Luke looks out the window, and the Emperor's like, this will be the final destruction of the Alliance and the end of your rebellion. And Luke is like, no. And the Emperor's really taunting him. He's like, take your weapon and kill me, because I don't have anything. And then Luke is trying to resist him, and the Emperor Palpatine's like, it is unavoidable. It is your destiny. You, like your father, are now mine. And then the Emperor tells them that to operate the Death Star. It blows up one of the ships. Lando's surprised, like, that blast came from the Death Star. That thing's operational. Gold One, this is Gold Leader. We have to, we can't get another chance at this. We have to give Han and them more time to stop the shields, so that we could get into the Death Star, blow it up, etc., etc., etc. The Ewoks fight, on Endor with Han and them, and some of them get killed. So there's casualties in the movie. There's a scene where Chewbacca's going like Tarzan, swinging on a vine. He goes on one of the ATSTs. The Ewoks beat up the Imperial officers. They take control of the ATST, and they blow up some of the other ones. They, Chewbacca, because he's such a good co-pilot in the Millennium Falcon. After that, the stormtroopers try to shoot Han and Leia, and Leia just comes out with her good arm and she shoots them, and Han is shocked. Of course, R2 gets shot because R2, something has to happen to him in all these films. Anyway, they see an ATST. They like, we surrender. Then they open the hatch, and it's Chewbacca, and Han's like, Chewie, get down here. She's wounded. But wait, I got an idea. Of course, that's before that. Luke grabs his lightsaber. He tries to hit the Emperor, and Vader stops him. And then the Emperor's smiling because everything is going to plan. Then you got the awesome fight between Vader and Luke, part 2, and it's just a very emotional fight. Luke kicks him, knocks him down the stairs, and the Emperor's like, use your aggressive feelings, let the hate flow through you. Luke shuts off his lightsaber, tries to talk to him, and said, I will not fight you, father. And Vader won't have it. He keeps attacking Luke. Luke is defending himself. And then Luke flips, and he's like, I feel the good in you, a conflict. And Vader's like, no, there is no conflict. And it's like, you couldn't kill me before, and I don't think you'll destroy me now. And Vader's like, you underestimate the power of the dark side. If you will not fight, then you will meet your destiny. Throws the lightsaber, knocks Luke out. Emperor's smiling, having a great time. Of course, that's when Han tricks one of the Imperial officers. He's like, "It's over, Commander. The rebels have aligned and they're fleeing into the woods. We need reinforcements to continue the pursuit." And then it says, "Send 3 squads to help. Open the door." Of course, it's a trick. You know, the Ewoks and Han, they stop their Imperial officers, and Han's like this. You know, Han's just badass. I'm glad they didn't kill him off. That would have been a mistake. This movie wouldn't be as entertaining without Harrison Ford playing Han Solo. Anyway, then they set up the charges to blow up the shield. Luke is hiding from Vader because he's not a coward. He's just like, I don't want to fight you. And Vader's like, give yourself to the dark side. It's the only way you can save your friends. Yeah, your feelings for them are strong, especially for sister. So you have a twin sister. Your feelings have now betrayed her too. Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. Now his failure is complete. And he's like, if you won't join the dark side, then perhaps she will. Luke gets angry. He's like, no! And then the fight gets really intense. Luke is knocking him out. He weakens Vader's arm. Vader's arm can barely move. And then he cuts his hand. He returns the favor from Empire. Cuts his metal hand. Vader's like, no! And he's like, and then the Emperor's just having a ball. It's like, good. Your hate has made you powerful now. Fulfill your destiny and take your father's place on my side. Luke looks at his other hand, the one that Vader cut off, his gloved hand, and then he sees Vader's hand, and he's like, oh, I did the same thing that he did to me. Then he takes his lightsaber, he says, I'll never join the dark side. You failed, your highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me. And the Emperor's not having it. He's scowling, and he's like, so be it, Jedi. And then, of course, they blow up the shield. You see a big explosion. The giant satellite blows up. There might have been some, things I missed because I don't want to spoil everything. I want you guys to see the movie if you haven't seen this awesome movie. Then they said the shield is down. Commence attack on the Death Star's main reactor. And then Lando's like, ha ha ha. Told you they'd do it. And then Nim Doom, the alien with the big lips, he's like, he laughs like one of my friends. They go into the Death Star to blow it up. Luke, doesn't see the Emperor's electricity, gets right into him, and he's burning him. It's like, you will pay the price for your lack of vision, and he's electrocuting him. And Luke's like, Father, please help me. And Vader's just standing there. The Emperor's like, now, young Skywalker, you will die. He smiles. Vader's like breathing, and then he's still shocking him with his like Electro from Spider-Man. And then Vader, he does what nobody saw coming. He looks at the Emperor and he's like, and then he grabs him with his good arm. He choke slams him, and the Emperor's like, ah! And then he gets electrocuted, and he tosses him into the pit. And then the Emperor goes, ah! And he falls to his death. Vader could barely breathe now. He explodes. He's like, he's like even more asthmatic. Luke gets to him and brings him up. He takes his body off, with him. He drags it along. Of course, the rebels blow up. They shoot the main reactor. They fly through it. It's a crazy like maze kind of tunnel inside of the Lando. He actually hits the surface of the Death Star, and one of the Han's satellite gets broken off, and he's like, that was too close. And then of course they blow it up. But before that, Luke is having a word with Darth Vader. Vader's like, Luke, take this mask off. But he's like, Luke, you'll die. And he's like, nothing can stop that now. Just let me look on you with my own eyes. He takes Vader's helmet off. He takes the mask off, and you see Anakin Skywalker all burnt with no hair and with his eyes, and he has the scars on his face. And Luke smiles. He smiles at Luke. He's like, go, my son, leave me. And he's like, no, you're coming with me. I gotta save you. And he's like, you already have, Luke. You were right. You were right about me. Tell your sister you were right. And he dies. And that's the end of Darth Vader. Luke cries. He's like, look, I won't leave you. Puts his head down. He takes the body with him. He flies in the shuttle Tidarium out of the Death Star. The Death Star blows up, and Lando's like, yeah! And they're like, yeah, haha. And then there's a big explosion. The Ewoks celebrate on Endor. They see the explosion. Han treats Leia's wound. He puts like a bandage around her arm. And Han's like, I hope Luke wasn't on that thing when it blew. And she's like, he wasn't. I can feel it. And she's like, he's like, you love him, don't you? And she's like, yes. And Han's like, all right, I understand, fine. When he comes back, I won't get in the way. And she's like, no, it's not like that at all. He's my brother. We're blood. We're relatives. We share the same, bloodline. And he's like, what? The look on his face is just golden. She kisses him. He smiles. She smiles. Wicket comes out and they pet him on the head. They kiss again. It's just a really feel good ending. Luke burns Darth Vader's, his whole body. I guess he's gonna cremate him anyway. And then you see the awesome music. You see the end of Vader. You see fireworks, and then you have the Ewoks, whichever ending you see. The original is Yub Nub, that nice song, and then the other one is this nice new score that John Williams did. It's like, oh, da, 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 I love the new music, even in the special editions. Then you see everybody's hugging and celebrating that the Empire is dead. You see people all over the galaxy. If that's in the special editions, they knock down the Emperor's statue in Naboo, and everybody's celebrating. Luke and Leia hug each other. Luke made it out alive. He did get his lightsaber. He didn't leave without it. And then you see whatchamacallit, the ghost of Yoda, Obi-Wan, and you see Anakin Skywalker, whichever version. If it's the original, it's Sebastian Stan as Anakin Skywalker. And if you see the Blu-ray or the DVD, it's Hayden Christensen, which it didn't bother me because that's what he looked like when he was young. And I know a lot of people have a problem with him. These small changes, some of them I don't agree with, but some of them I'm like, it's cool, it's fine. It's still an awesome movie. And then the end credits, and it's the end of the original trilogy. Love this movie to death, and that's Return of the Jedi in a nutshell. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's got a fast pace. It's got a great story. It's got great emotional characters. It's got a great, it engages you. People say, oh, the Ewoks ruin it. I think the Ewoks are adorable. They can fight cool, and if it weren't for them, the rebels would have died in this movie. It would be like X-Men: The Last Stand. But it's not, and I love this movie. It will always be my favorite movie of all time. This is the last good Star Wars movie we got in a while. In the timeline. If you don't count Episode 3, this was the last one that was loved by fans. Anyway, next time I got to talk about that horrible Clone Wars movie. I want to be brief on that. I'm not going to take 30 minutes with that. I promise. I'm going to get through it as quick as I can, give a synopsis, and just get it over with, because that's the only Star Wars movie I don't care for, and I'll explain why. Anyway, see you guys later. I'm glad you enjoyed my videos. I've reviewed all of the 6 Star Wars movies. These films are a big part of my life. I love them. I will always treasure Star Wars. Lucas, gave us a franchise that you people should appreciate. No matter how many changes they've made, it will live forever in our hearts. So, may the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video while I do my rant on the Clone Wars animated movie. So, later.